quarantiners. Here we are, another day inside. Maybe you went shopping and bought a ton of stuff a week or so ago, and you've been cooking at home, and now you have like some leftover this, leftover of that. Maybe you need to use something before it goes bad. I think we're all in that situation right now, and so I'm going to try to make something for dinner tonight that uses a little bit of everything. So let's take a look. Here we have some leftover rice from some Chinese takeout that we got. We got takeout from Dan Dan in Center City, Philadelphia. Some of the best Szechuan Chinese food out there, next to Han Dynasty. But you know they all work together at one point. And here we have some ShopRite black beans. I'm gonna use those. I have some tomatillas. All right. I made some tamales last week, and so I have some leftover tomatillas which I might use. I have some canned tomatoes, whole tomatoes, which we can use with the rice. I have a piece of smoked chicken, which we can use as well. Half an onion. I have some more, so we might actually use some more of those. I have a half a lime here from some cocktails that I made last night. And we have some serrano peppers. So I think that you probably know the direction that I'm going with this. Mexican. We're going to go Mexican today, all right? So what I'm thinking is I'm going to make some Spanish rice. I'm going to make some salsa verde with the tomatillas and the serrano pepper. I'm going to just chop the chicken up, maybe add some cumin and some hot pepper and things like that. And I'm going to make some black beans as well. And that's all going to come together and make a really nice dinner with zero waste. So I'm really excited about that. All right, so let's start off with the salsa verde. The main ingredient in salsa verde is tomatillas. Tomatillas, you can get it at most grocery stores. If not, your local Mexican corner store will definitely have it. And what it is, it's like this really kind of tart, almost like green, like tomato that comes off of a vine, like a tomato, but it's wrapped in this kind of paper-like, natural paper-like casing. It's pretty amazing. I grew tomatillas this summer for the first time, and it was a lot of fun to cook them, see them grow, and see this kind of natural paper. First, the paper forms, and then the fruit grows inside of the paper. So it's pretty cool. So what you do to start this is you just peel off the casing, all right? And then you're left with the tomatilla. Now, it's going to be all sticky, so you're going to want to wash this really well, because I don't think that we want that kind of natural sticky-like substance. So I'm going to go ahead and take the casing off of these tomatillas and rinse them, and I'll be right back. All right, so here we have the washed and husked tomatillas. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them in half. That way I don't have to flip them when they are in the oven. I just don't like going and flipping things in the oven. It's a pain in the neck to me. So I'm just going to cut them that way that I can get both sides going at the same time. And I just want to put them in the oven on broil because I want to blister the skins. I want them to turn a little bit black because that's going to caramelize the skin and start the cooking process, which is going to make the salsa verde really tasty and even a little bit smoky. So I'm just going to take the tomatillas, stick them in the toaster oven on broil, and we'll just wait till they get just a little burnt on the top. All right? Make sure that you put it on a pan with tin foil because you're going to want to collect all the juices, okay? Because you're going to need the juices for the salsa verde. I used just under a pound of tomatillas, so I'm going to want about a quarter cup of onion and maybe one or two cloves of garlic, okay? So just go ahead and dice them up. I'm going to get this started, and we'll check on the tomatillas here in a minute or two. All right, so while we're waiting on that, I know Hayley's in the other room. She's always baking something, so I wonder what she's making today.
Today making whole wheat banana muffins with double chocolate chips.
Hang on, hang on. They got to make sure they can see it. You see this? Huh? Look at how dark that chocolate is. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. How long does that cook for?
I'll be back in 5 minutes to turn down the oven temperature.
To turn it down? Why are you turning it down?
Because it needs a high temperature to make it rise immediately, and the temperature needs to come back down.
Science, people. Science. This is fantastic. So we'll have some Mexican food and then some chocolate desserts. We are going to gain the quarantine 20. Hey, check this out. The muffins are coming out of the oven. They're super hot, super fresh. I won't ask Hayley to bring that over here, but let's see if we can take a look. Look at that. You want to tell us what's going on here?
They're done.
They're done. While we wait for those tomatillas to get nice and toasty, let's go ahead and start making our black beans. All right. In the black beans, it's pretty simple. You know, you have a can of black beans. You're going to dice up some onion. Probably for every can you use, maybe you want a cup worth of onions. Okay. Onions. You want onions. That's about a quarter cup. Now, remember, we're trying to make everything and use everything in our pantry. So I'm going to go ahead and use the red onion here, just to make sure that it gets used. Odds are I'm going to actually want some more onion later on, but hey, I like red onions, I like white onions, I like yellow onions, I like shallots. Kind of feel like Forrest Gump here, but I could go all day with the different kinds of onions. Green onions. All right, I'll stop there. But I'm going to chop this up. I'm going to come over here and saute them in some olive oil with some garlic, and I'm going to add in the beans with some spices. So let me just get started on the onions here. We'll be right back. All right, I have my pot starting to heat up. I'm going to take some olive oil, put it at the bottom. And then once that heats up, I'm going to add my onions here. I'm going to add them in. Make sure that that oil is coating the entire bottom. And let's go ahead, we'll add our onions. While they get started, I'm just going to add a little bit of garlic. Cut it up. Oh man, don't you hate this when you get a bulb of garlic and it's all these tiny little cloves? Such a pain in the neck. What's going on in the pot. Alright. Now we're going to add some spices in right now so that as the onions are caramelizing, we can also get a little bit of a toasty flavor on the spices we put in. So I'm going to throw in some cumin. I'm going to throw in some red pepper. And a little paprika. And of course, what would be a dish without some pepper? Let's grind some pepper. All right. Oh yeah. You can smell all those spices I just put in toasting up. Getting all toasty. Get a little smoky. Yeah. You see? All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up these beans. Now, your first instinct will be to rinse these beans, to drain the beans. Do not rinse or drain the beans. We want all the gunk, all the stuff that you find in beans right in the pot. That's how it's done. All right, for when you're making black beans. But in other situations, you'll want to rinse them. In this case, we want all that wonderful bean flavor right in here because that's what this is. This is black bean. So we want to bring out all of the stuff that's going on. All right. Now I think I'm going to add a little salt here. There we go. All right. Now we're just going to let this simmer for a while. You'll bring it up to a little boil. Excuse me while I open up the cabinet. We're going to bring this up to a boil, and now we're going to just let it simmer for a while. I might add some more spices later. It might need a little something, but I'm going to let it kind of do its thing, let the onions and the beans get to know each other a little bit, and I'm going to let them hang out. So I'm just going to put these on the back burner, literally and figuratively. Let's check in on our tomatillas and see how they've made out. There we go. You see how the tops are nice and a little bit dark. All right, we've blackened them a little bit, and we started cooking all the sugars inside the tomatillas. Okay, so let's go ahead and start making the salsa verde. What I'm going to do is throw in the tomatillas as well as any juices that have come out of the tomatillas. You want that all inside of the blender. Here I have a couple cloves of garlic. Boom, in. A handful of onion, in. I'm just getting the rest of the onion here. Handful of cilantro. Smells nice and fragrant. We'll throw it in here. Okay. We're also going to want some salt. I use some sea salt for this. Go ahead, just put it in. Nobody wants to salt after they start to eat. All right, put it in here, and I'm just gonna pulse until I get a nice salsa. I forgot something. Serrano pepper. Right, we need a little bit of heat in there. Hayley does not like the heat so much. I love the heat a lot. So we got to compromise. We got to cut the pepper in half. I'll seed half of the serrano pepper, and then I'm going to put the other side in whole. Right, so we'll get a little bit of not so hot, a little bit of hot. That's compromise right there. There we go. Smells great. It's very hot though, so it's hard to tell what it's going to be like when it cools off. So let me go ahead and have a little taste. I'm going to get one more clove of garlic. One more clove. cloven. You might think to yourself, I'm somebody that follows directions, right? But just taste it. Just taste it. Let your taste buds tell you, hey, I think this could use a little bit more garlic. You know what garlic tastes like. Do you want a little bit more of it inside your tomatillas? For me, right now, yes, I do. Always trust your taste buds. Here we go. I'm going to take a bowl. I'm going to take the blade out so I don't cut my fingers. And I'm going to go and just bring it right here inside the bowl. Look at this. You see how fresh this looks? How fresh? You can see the steam coming off of a little bit. Obviously, hot salsa is not something that interests most people, so I'm going to put this in the refrigerator until we're ready to eat. Hopefully it's cooled down enough. Okay? Now we're going to prep our chicken. This is some smoked chicken that I made earlier this week. Old chicken, you never want to use the skin, or at least I don't. It's all rubbery and just things like that. Now I'm going to take the meat off the bones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this chicken. That way it sits on top of the rice and next to the beans, and has a really good mouth feel. That's a really kind of strange word, mouth feel, but that's what people call it. There we go, just like that. You can keep the bone and make a stock with your bones, but you could also put them in the garbage or compost them. I don't know if you can compost them, but I bet you somebody out there could answer that question. Just leave a comment in the comment section of the video. Now, let's pull this. A real simple way to pull chicken is just to use two forks, and just kind of use one fork to hold the other one, and there you go. I'm going to pull it a little bit, and I'm also going to chop it. It's kind of hard to pull chicken that's been sitting in your refrigerator for a week because it's not hot, so all the strands of meat, all the fiber, is stuck together. So it's going to be a little bit challenging to pull. So, change of directions. I'm going to give it a little chop, just a rough chop, so that everybody can get some nice bite-sized pieces in their dish. This is great. You can smell all the smoke coming off of the chicken from earlier this week. Nice and sweet. Applewood, I think I used. So, applewood's a little bit more mild than, say, mesquite or hickory. So this is applewood, which is really good to smoke with because it's not overpowering, especially with something like chicken that's a little bit more mild. You want a little bit of a kind of more relaxed wood. All right, there we go. I'm going to put this in a little skillet with some chicken broth. Just heat up real slow. Whenever you're reheating meat, always do it slow, because if you reheat it too fast, it's going to lose texture and it's not going to taste very good. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of broth in, maybe a couple tablespoons. I don't want to overwhelm the chicken. Here's the chicken. I'm just going to add just a little bit, just a tablespoon or two of chicken broth, and that's going to bring our chicken back to life a little bit. Using steam and a little heat. Going to add a little adobe. Adobe has a lot of salt in it, so you don't really need to add any extra salt. Some pepper, a little cumin, real slow. Give that a little stir. I'm gonna go ahead and check in on my beans, give it a little taste, see what's going on. I took the top off so some of that water can evaporate. Let's taste the beans. They're doing well. They're doing well. I'm gonna leave them just like they are. Turn my chicken up just a little bit. Now let's start the rice. I have, looks like maybe a cup, maybe a little over a cup of rice. I'm going to mix that with some old tomatoes that I have from that were in a can. They're whole tomatoes in a can. I'm going to add cilantro, some onions, and garlic. All right, as well as some other spices, which I'll talk about in a second. So here I am. I'm going to cut up the onion, tomatoes, and garlic, and then we'll start cooking them. All right. All right, let's make the Spanish rice. First, take a pan, throw a little olive oil in. Let that get nice and hot. Over here, we have the chopped onions, the garlic, and over here, these peeled whole tomatoes from a can. First, let's go ahead and put in our onions and garlic. I just throw them in at the same time since this meal's taking a little bit of time to put together. I just want to get right in and just get those two things together because Hayley's getting hungry, and that means dinner should be ready very quick. Turn this up a little bit. Get this going. Start to add some of our seasoning. Pepper, always. A little paprika. A little cumin. We're using a lot of the same spices on each of these dishes. However, because they are very different in like actual content, like beans, chicken, salsa, they're all going to take on these flavors, and they'll all take them on differently. So they won't all end up tasting the same. It's really going to come together really well. Now, even though I'm trying to rush a little bit to finish up here, I want to make sure to give the onions time to caramelize and really bring out those darker, sweeter flavors of the onion. This next part, something that if you have kids, you can have your kids do, or maybe not because it would be super messy, or maybe your kids are really clean, who knows. So here's a whole peeled tomato, and one way, I'm just going to squeeze them right into the pan. Here's a way to make sure you don't squirt it everywhere. What I do is I just stick my thumb into the tomato, and then I break it up with my hands. Okay? Kids will probably love to do this. I don't really know. I don't have kids, but I could imagine kids would be really into just squishing tomatoes with their hands and putting them in a pan. I'm not a kid, and I kind of enjoy this. So, you know, maybe you want tomato on your kitchen walls. Maybe not. I don't know. There we go. You see I'm just squeezing them with my hands. I could use like a potato masher, but this is more fun. My hands are clean. Why not? All right. I'm just going to stir this around a bit. Let the tomatoes start to cook. All right, okay, take your leftover rice and just dump it in, okay? Break it up. Whoa. Break it up really gently or else you'll have tomato and rice all over your kitchen. All right, as you can see, the rice is very dry. It's been sitting in the refrigerator for a couple days now. So, we need to bring it back to life. And how do you bring everything back to life? A little bit of stock, okay? Give the stock a little bit of a stir. Again, this is just better than bouillon. It's going to help us out here. All right, let's pour in, I don't know, maybe a half a cup or so. Don't worry, this rice is just going to absorb it all up. Now, here's where you're going to stir it, and you're going to just get all those brown bits that were stuck to the bottom off your pan. That's going to make cleaning easy as well as tastes very good. All right. Now, if you have a little dog like this that roams around your kitchen, they'll eat all the rice that you spill. Anything on the ground, they'll just go ahead and eat. So that way you don't have to worry about cleaning that up. Delicious. Ooh, that's a little spicy. How did it get so spicy? All right. So, I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to add a little cilantro to this. Give it a little pop of the green as well as some of the flavor of that cilantro. Okay, let's plate this up. Let's start off by putting a little bit of a bed of rice down right here on the plate. All right, you can see how beautiful that rice looks. Now I'm going to take some chicken. There's some of this leftover smoked chicken, and I'm just going to put that right on top. Okay, and I'm going to finish that off with just a scoop of the Salsa Verde. Yeah, look at that. All right, now let's come over here, get some of the Mexican black beans. All right, and there you have it. How good does that look? Hopefully you enjoyed this, and maybe it will inspire you to use everything that's in your refrigerator right now. Let me know any comments in the comment section, and look forward to maybe doing this again. All right, take care. Bye.